Good evening and welcome. Tonight we are going to be reading two articles out of History magazine. They are both about India. The first one is going to be the Taj Mahal, probably the most iconic structure in India. But we're also going to read about a very, very interesting place, the Ajanta Caves. You can see the exterior here. These articles were chosen by my channel members. They were chosen by Laura T. and Krista. And if you would like to pick History magazine articles that I read to you, you can click the join button right about there. Or if you're on mobile and it's not there, you can click the very first link in the description box. It is only 99 US cents per month, and you get all sorts of little perks. You get your name in every video. You get to participate on my live trivia nights. And you get exclusive videos. You get a ton of stuff for as cheap as I possibly could make it. It's the lowest possible price I could set it to. Or you could pick History magazine articles. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is not only the most iconic symbol of India's Mughal emperors, but one of the best known works of art and architecture in the world. It is a lavish mausoleum commissioned by Emperor Shah Jahan, the fifth ruler of the great Mughal dynasty, to house the body of his beloved Mumtaz Mahal, who died while giving birth to their 14th child. The Mughals were a Muslim dynasty of Mongol origin whose founder, Babur, descended from Genghis Khan. Mughal is derived from the Persian for Mongol and the source of the English word Mughal. From 1526 to 1857, the Mughals ruled an empire that, at its peak in the late 1600s, was the largest and wealthiest on earth. Mughal lands once extended from present-day Iran and Afghanistan to Pakistan and Uzbekistan, including almost all of the Indian subcontinent. The Mughals were known for their military prowess, financial and trading skills, intermittent religious tolerance of non-Islamic faiths, and love of the arts. Over the centuries, the Taj Mahal, which is Persian for Crown Palace, has endured as a site of religious pilgrimage and a romantic destination for lovers. In 1983, it was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and in 2007, it was chosen by people voting on 6 continents as one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. Loving couple. The woman who would one day rest in the Taj Mahal was born Arjumand Banu Begum in 1593 in Agra, India, to Persian nobility. Her father was the brother-in-law of Shah Jahan's father, Jahangir. Her beauty was so arresting that Prince Khurram, as Shah Jahan was then known, fell in love with her on sight. They were betrothed in 1607 and married when it was deemed propitious in 1612. Khurram renamed her Mumtaz, which means chosen one of the palace, shortly after their marriage. Together, Mumtaz and Shah Jahan traveled the Mughal Empire for 19 years. She rarely left his side and accompanied him on military campaigns, even during her 14 pregnancies and throughout his campaign to overthrow his father. Mumtaz was his confidant and counselor, yet she did not seek political power for herself, even after Shah Jahan successfully secured the throne in 1628, a year after his father's death. Shah Jahan was renowned for his exquisite taste and for being a major patron of the arts. He was fascinated with gemology and supported the work of court miniaturists, who became famous worldwide for their elaborate decoration in the margins of their paintings and for their mastery of floral designs. Shah Jahan focused much of his energy on architectural design, continuing the magnificent tradition of his predecessors. He completed the Agra Fort, with its distinctive red sandstone, the Lahore Fort, with its beautiful marble and tilework, the Red Fort in Delhi, and impressive mosques in Lahore and Delhi. But his most famous monumental work of them all is the glorious Taj Mahal. 7 of the 14 children born to Mumtaz and Shah Jahan lived past infancy. Mumtaz died in childbirth when she and Shah Jahan were on a military campaign in 1631, and he never fully recovered from the loss of his wife. For the next 2 decades, he focused on building a timeless memorial to their eternal love. In part because Shah Jahan was so preoccupied with Mumtaz's Taj Mahal, the empire's concerns were neglected. In 1658, their son Aurangzeb wrested control of the empire from his father while killing off his 3 brothers. He cloistered Shah Jahan in the Agra fort until his father's death in 1666. Beautiful picture there. I'll take a look at it after the article. The Jewel of Agra. Although it is not known which architect was in overall charge of planning and directing work on the Taj Mahal, contemporary chroniclers do mention several designers involved with its construction. There is Ismail Khan, who had built domes in Turkey, Amanat Khan, a master calligrapher from Shiraz, and Mukrimat Khan and Mir Abdul Karim, the chief administrators of the project, also in Shiraz. Many artisans from around the world worked on the decoration, and the materials they chose were always the finest. No expense or political inconvenience was spared in its construction. As Peter Frankopan writes in The Silk Roads, gold and silver taken from the Americas found its way to Asia. It was this redistribution of wealth that enabled the Taj Mahal to be built. Not without irony, one of the glories of India was the result of the suffering of Indians on the other side of the world. According to French gem merchant Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, who published an account of his travels in Persia and India in 1676, the project had more than 20,000 workers and 1,000 elephants. The status and treatment of those workers are still hotly disputed among historians, and all was financed through heavy taxes. Made entirely of pure white marble from the quarries of Makrana, the Taj Mahal itself took 16 years to build. The entire complex was completed in 1653. Although it drained the coffers of the Mughal Empire, the end result has become a universal symbol of India and a masterwork of universal art. Beholding the wonder. The Taj Mahal is in Agra, a major city in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. It stands on the bank of the Yamuna River, surrounded by a beautiful garden irrigated by canals. The building complex is in a rectangular area of 42 acres, enclosed by a great wall. To enter, one must pass through a monumental 3-story gateway known as an Iwan. This huge arched structure is built in red sandstone with marble facades. When the tomb comes into sight, the view is breathtaking. The marble mausoleum rises on its plinth at the far end of the garden, not in the center, as was standard for Indo-Persian tombs. Its image is reflected in a long rectangular pool the length of the garden. Flanking the main mausoleum are two buildings of red sandstone, a mosque to the left facing Mecca, and to the right a jawab, or echo of the mosque, a shelter for pilgrims, perfectly balancing the layout of the whole. The mosque and the jawab are each topped by two chahatris, canopies in the form of a raised pavilion topped with a dome, an element widely used in Indian architecture. The central mausoleum, despite its apparent delicacy, is immense, approximately 180 feet by 180 feet, and chamfered into an octagon. It stands on a square platform 313 feet wide and roughly 22 feet high. Minarets, around 130 feet tall, stand at each corner of the platform. An iwan opens up from each of the cardinal points of the main structure, which is crowned by an imposing double-layered central dome and 4 chahatris. The interior space is also octagonal and divided into 4 octagonal rooms. The cenotaphs of the royal couple are found here and replicate the tombs with the remains of Mumtaz Mahal and Shah Jahan, which are located in an underground chamber. The Taj Mahal is famous for the exquisite harmony of its proportions. The overall impression is that each element is vital to the balance of the whole. The marble, too, produces spectacular color changes as the light shifts. A dazzling white under bright midday sun, pink at dawn, and translucent by moonlight. Between the vast plinth and the sandstone entrance is an immense garden, 1,000 feet wide. It evokes the Islamic paradise Bagh-e-Adan, and once held floral shrubs, fruit trees, and flowers. In its center, a marble pool lies equidistant from the mausoleum and the monument entrance, flanked by an arched courtyard. The outstanding beauty of the Taj Mahal comes not only from its graceful architecture, but also from its gorgeous decoration, created mainly with pietra dura, or hard stone, set into white marble, a technique known in India as parchinkari. The designs are both intricate and exuberant. Plant motifs, flowers, and vases called guldastas allude to paradise, and Quranic verses adorn the walls with elegant calligraphy. British writer Rudyard Kipling describes arriving by train to see the Taj Mahal for the first time. The Taj took 100 new shapes, each perfect and each beyond description. It was the ivory gate through which all good dreams come. Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore was similarly enraptured. Only let this one tear drop, this Taj Mahal, glisten spotlessly bright on the cheek of time forever and ever. It is the teardrop shed in grief by Shah Jahan for his beloved Mumtaz Mahal. There's one other picture here, kind of slicing it in half. So you can see the plinth area here, the minarets side. The guldastas are where? I don't see number 3. Oh, right here. Guldastas, decorative elements shaped like needles. Oh, okay. Interesting. The dome, of course. the arcades or on the outside here. All the calligraphy all throughout the building. And then the cenotaphs here in the center. You can see all the gardens out here, but there's better pictures. Oh, this is what it looks like right here, up close. Let's look at the pictures of it all now. There you can see some of the beautiful flower details in the walls. You can see little vines, the flowers, and then beautiful flowers carved into the marble there. This is Shah Jahan there depicted. And here's a story of him rescuing a courtier, apparently. Here's the Queen's tomb. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? You can see the calligraphy here. All the flower details all around it. Absolutely stunning. No detail spared. No corner isn't decorated with something, right? Here's a shot of the entryway, and I like this because you can see people here, so you can kind of put this building into perspective. Right? This is the north entrance here, a drawing of it. This is a wine cup here. Isn't that beautiful? I love this picture. I was staring at it for a long time. Because you can see the entrance here. Beautiful gardens. And then one of these is the mosque and the other one is the shadow of the mosque, right? I like that. And then the Taj Mahal in the center. This is the Agra Fort, which is not far away. And it's where Shah Jahan lived out his final days in captivity. Here is the lady herself, Mumtaz Mahal. This is a coin from the Mughal Empire. And here's a very, very beautiful shot. Very colorful, isn't it? Very vivid. You can see it perfectly reflected in the pool here. Isn't that beautiful? This is a map of the Mughal Empire. Can't really read it, but you can definitely see India right there, huh? And what is this? Looks like some kind of necklace. Kiru spinel? I don't know, but it says it's engraved with the names of the Mughal emperors. And then the front picture we're looking at, which again, these are people down here. Isn't that remarkable? Very, very Let's move on to our next article about the Ajanta Caves, which I bet you haven't heard of before. So let's learn about them if you've not heard of them before. Or let's learn more about them if you have. And again, we'll look at all the pictures after we read. Along a horseshoe-shaped cliff above the Wagora River in central India, a cadre of British soldiers set out in 1819, hoping to bag a tiger. Their hunting party stumbled upon something surprising, a network of man-made caves ingeniously and dramatically cut into the rock. The beauty of the stonework was just a hint to what awaited inside those stone halls. The interiors of the caves, home to bats and familiar to local tribes, but otherwise unknown to the rest of the world for roughly 14 centuries, revealed a singularly astonishing collection of religious art. The immense murals, rock-cut sculptures, shrines or stupas, monasteries, prayer halls, and inscriptions created over centuries exemplify masterpieces of early Buddhist art and the creative achievements of classical India under the influential Gupta dynasty. And yet, surprisingly, only a few local residents knew of their majestic splendor. Geologic origins. About 66 million years ago, 100,000 or more years before the so-called Chicxulub impact, which was the asteroid collision credited with the extinction of the dinosaurs. One of the largest volcanic eruptions in history began flooding India's Deccan Plateau with roughly 135,000 cubic miles of lava. When the dust settled and the lava cooled, the entire region was covered in a layer of igneous basalt. Many of India's major dynasties would arise on this plateau. Their rock carvings and inscriptions offer some of the best records of these early societies. Near the ancient town of Ajanta, roughly 30 caves carved by humans perforate the sweep of the dark basaltic rock face. Their facades are unexpectedly grand, with paintings, pillars, and statuary reminiscent of the sculpted temples in the ancient city of Petra in Jordan and the frescoes of Pompeii. The lavishness of the Ajanta complex reflects its royal patronage. Although some of the cave temples date to the 2nd and 1st centuries BCE, most of them were carved during the reign of Vakataka emperor named Harisena, who ruled a large swath of central India in the mid-5th century CE. At one time, several hundred monks were living in the caves. The period of Ajanta as a thriving religious and artistic center appears to coincide with the reign of Harisena, who died in 478. By the 7th century, the monastery began to empty, the caves were abandoned, and Ajanta's beautiful paintings fell into obscurity. Buddhism would gradually disappear from India, the country of its birth. By the end of the 13th century, its holy places were either destroyed or abandoned in the wake of invasions from Muslim armies. Monastic splendor. Most of Ajanta's caves were designed as prayer halls, or chaityas, and living quarters, or viharas. They feature central chambers lined with columns that open into a shrine where a statue of the Buddha still sits. Along the outer corridors, doorways open to monks' cells, bare except for stone beds. For the most part, the architectural mood is solemn, reverential, but the walls are adorned with something almost otherworldly. The most elaborate of the caves was designed for enlightenment, and many of their walls were covered with inspirational paintings. Only fragments of the majority of the murals have survived the centuries. Enough remain to summon the sensual and spiritual atmosphere that infused these temples. All of known creation appears to have paraded across their walls. There are images of the Buddha and of bodhisattvas, or other enlightened beings. There are princes and princesses, merchants, beggars, musicians, servants, lovers, soldiers, and holy men. Elephants, monkeys, buffalo, geese, horses, and even ants join the human throng. Trees bloom, lotus blossoms open, vines curl and reach. One of the most enchanting murals depicts the beatific figure of a bodhisattva who represents infinite compassion, Padmapani, also known as Avalokiteshvara, holding a lotus, appearing near the entrance of one of the shrines. Padmapani stands as guardian, offering a vision of peace to all who enter. Statues of bodhisattvas greet visitors to the caves, just as they must have welcomed the pilgrims, monks, and merchants who passed through Ajanta during its heyday. On the walls are intricately composed murals that tell stories, called jatakas, from the many past lives of the Buddha. Other works depict incidents from the life of the historical Buddha Siddhartha Gautama, an Indian prince who lived 1,000 years earlier. The paintings serve as illustrated classics, 5th century style, meant to awaken devotion and heighten spiritual awareness through the act of seeing. For most visitors today, the tales are arcane, and yet the sensation of watching the images emerge from the dark in all their grace and beauty links then and now. Preservation efforts. In modern times, the world has slowly rediscovered the sublime power of the paintings. National Geographic photographer Volkmar Wenzel visited Ajanta and neighboring Ellora on his 1946-1947 journey across India. He wanted to photograph the frescoes in the new Ektachrome color film, but the heat was so intense the emulsion melted. Wenzel eventually had to ship in ice from 100 miles away and use the shadowy recesses of the cave as his darkroom. The complex was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983, but an ill-advised attempt at preservation by 2 Italian conservationists covered many murals in varnish and then shellac, which distorted the colors. Rajdev Singh, the Archaeological Survey of India's Chief of Conservation, launched an intensive preservation campaign in 1999. Indian photographer and filmmaker Binoy Bell has been documenting the caves for decades and is still moved by the ancient composition. It shows us the divine part of ourselves. Despite the Ajanta paintings' ethereal beauty, they were once viewed as a flash in the pan, an isolated, extraordinary achievement. Recent studies have made it clear that the splendors of Ajanta emerged from earlier trends, and their influence spread far and wide. Bell's photographs and films have documented how the caves' artwork fits into broader Hellenic, Hindu, and Buddhist traditions. Developments in sacred imagery fed the artistic blossoming at Ajanta. This era was when the figure of the Buddha achieved an idealized, perfected human form. At first, artists had relied on symbols, footprints, a tree, an empty throne, to represent the historical Buddha, but followers wanted a more personal focus for their devotion. The likeness invented on the Indian subcontinent in the 1st century CE, with lowered eyes and serene expression, became the prototype for Buddhist images that spread across Asia. It remains the indelible face of the Buddha today. Let me see. Okay, it's the last picture here. You can see some monks sitting here before one of these beautiful rock carvings here of the Buddha. See. You can see the elephants here. You can see how dark it is, can't you? It almost looks like there's like a fire in here and it's stained with like smoke. But it's just really, really dark, I guess. This is the Padmapati they were talking about. You can see the lotus here. She's just calmly welcoming you to the caves. And here is a reclining Buddha. I think my favorite depiction of the Buddha are the sleepy, relaxed Buddhas. They're just so serene to me, like more serene than just like the sitting, meditating Buddha, like you can see here. So I think that's like a universal position of relaxation, right? Look how incredible this is. Let's see. A ritual bath, it says it's showing, and you can see, goodness, you can see a lot happening here. I'm trying to like figure out what to point out. So it looks like people here are bathing, but then like there's looks like servants here and servants over here like offering something, but I can't tell what. Really detailed, isn't it? big containers here, probably like pouring water, you know. Interesting. And here's another of the really dark caves. Again, it looks like it's like fire damaged, but it's just been in the dark for so long. You can see the beautiful painted ceilings, and there's a Buddha carved there. Here is a map. So you can see the purple here is the Vakataka Empire. The Gupta Empire is up here in the north. That's where the Ajanta Caves are located. Some more Buddhas here painted into the walls. Actually, this looks like a ceiling. That looks like the top of the ceiling here. It's curved. And there's an entrance here, which you can see these cool elephants carved in. That's awesome. I love elephants, I don't know. And then there's the exterior. You can see there's more modern stairs leading you up to these cave entrances. This huge complex, all man-made. Isn't that fascinating? Carved into the mountain. But that's where I'm going to leave you for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good